2020. Let's go ahead and get started. All right. So the first article today comes from Fortune magazine, and it states: "Are college degree requirements holding Black job seekers back?" And this looks like to be, or I believe it's an opinion piece written by, what's the brother's name? Michael Collins. And this is something that he specializes in. But in the article, he's talking about the bachelor's degree requirement for many corporations and whether or not these types of requirements are holding back Black job seekers. So here's a stat that I found interesting. It says since 1972, the Black unemployment rate has been double the rate for whites. That gap has narrowed only slightly. The Black unemployment rate still stands at 12.1% compared to a white unemployment rate of 7%. And the main thesis of this article is because in our haste to get Black Americans back to work, we may overlook the potential to create a more inclusive, equitable post pandemic workforce. Research suggests that short term training programs now in vogue among many policy elites may not yield the sort of sustainable wage gains that policymakers and employers are expecting. And what comes to my mind is Google, and Google is actually getting rid of its college degree requirement in order or in changing that with a certificate or degree program which you can go through on Google. So Google is looking forward to disrupting the whole higher education space. But he's asking, are companies like Google and others, is this type of new business model, is that going to actually end up being good for Black workers? So this says, it turns out that the overemphasis on short-term credentials to get Black Americans back to work is short-sighted and temporary solution. For economic equity and justice, we need to make sure that the short-term programs complement degrees rather than replace them, and that we increase access to longer-term credentials such as bachelor's and graduate degrees. The economic ceiling for Americans who have not completed college stems in part from college degree requirements that often slam the door on qualified Black and other minority job applicants. This stat states a 2017 HBS study, so Harvard Business School study analysis basically said that there's a high degree of degree inflation as well, and it was responsible for as many as 6.2 million workers potentially missing out on job opportunities. And he goes on to talk a little bit more about the job inflation that's going on, and also who was to benefit and who did not really recover from the 2007, 2008 financial crisis. So he goes on to state of the 7 million net jobs lost during the economic downturn that followed the financial crisis in 2007. Nearly all were occupied by workers holding less than a bachelor's degree, but only 3.2 million of those jobs added during the recovery went to that population. And the vast majority of those people, or those were people with an associate degree or at least some degree of college education. So I found this article to be very interesting. He closes out by saying, for Black Americans, fundamental changes in both hiring practices and bachelor's degree attainment must be equal partners in an equitable economic recovery. So this was posted in Fortune today, and Michael Collins is the VP of Jobs for the Future. He previously served as Assistant Commissioner for Participation and Success at the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. So, for those interested in the general economy and how, African Americans fit into that and what we can do to continue to increase our position, I think this is a great article for you. The next article comes from TechCrunch. It says Black VC, which is a networking organization for Blacks in the VC area. Or industry, excuse me. Black VC launches educational initiative to bring more Black entrepreneurs into investing, into the investing ecosystem. So the crux of the argument or the article states that Black VC, along with partners Operator Collective, Salesforce Ventures, and the Haas School of Business at Berkeley University, or University of Berkeley, excuse me, is hoping to change that. And today, the group announced the Black Venture Institute, an educational initiative dedicated to helping Black operators become angel investors. The program has a goal of training 300 students over the next 3 years to create a network of Black investors and advisors who can begin writing checks and making or to make investments. So Frederick Gross, I'm not sure how you say his name, Gross, I'm not exactly sure. He's the principal at Storm Ventures and the co-founder of Black VC. Says that venture capital clearly has an access problem, and the program is trying to open up these closed networks. It is these closed networks that have helped contribute to the lack of access for the Black community over the years. Venture Institute is a structural attempt to create access for Black operators from engineers to product managers. So I think this is an awesome venture that they're actually working on, and much success to them. There was an interesting stat in here too. So it says to give you a sense of what Black founders are up against. A 2018 Harlem Capital report found that since 2000, the previous 18 years to that point, just 105 firms with all Black founders received funding of $1 million or more. These numbers are stark and point to unequal funding climate and the need for more programs like this one. So I guarantee you, amongst the general population, it was way more than 105 firms that received funding of $1 million or more. But yeah, check this article out if you are in the tech space, and go ahead and apply for the program. I actually might apply and try to get the Black Business School integrated into their network because we have a lot of crowdfunding initiatives coming out and an investor network that we're going to be launching soon as well. The next article comes from Wired in the UK. So it states Black employees are being asked to fix institutional racism. Rather than spend money, companies are tasking their Black employees with solving corporate diversity issues. So the article starts off talking about, of course, George Floyd and what's going on in America. But it talks about companies. So it says rather than senior leadership doing the legwork, the responsibility has fallen to non-white hires who are not remunerated for additional labor or diversity and inclusion officers, some newly contracted in the wake of the Black Lives Matter movement. So basically, they're trying to find the first Black person they can find, and asking them what their opinion is on as it relates to what they can do, the companies can do to solve their problems. So this quote comes from Bayo Adilaha, who is a diversity and inclusion consultant. She states a lot of organizations are ill prepared to deal with these sorts of things and aren't actually particularly interested in actioning change. They say we're educating ourselves, but don't know how to actually fix the problems at hand. So look to those who have actually experienced those things. The problem with that is that the Black people within an organization don't usually have the power to fix anything. This is an interesting article talking about basically the UK is having a lot of the same challenges and issues that we're having in the United States around this notion of diversity and inclusion. I'm curious to know if the D&I consultant will actually have the power to change anything as well. So that's not something that they actually address in this article, but it's an important question to bring up. It states, while some companies have taken the steps to address structural inequality via workshops and unconscious bias training, it's often the case that sustained effort is needed to really result in any concrete change. But if you're out there and you want to get into the diversity and inclusion space, it looks like they are definitely hiring right now. So go out there and get your money. The next article is an opinion piece from Ryan Williams. So he's one of the leading Black entrepreneurs, especially in the real estate space right now. So he's talking about investing in Black-owned banks, the key to ending racial disparities. So he got his start before he started the company Cadre back in 2014, which is in the real estate investing space. He got his start with a black bank. A black bank is one of the banks that took a risk on him, and it has paid off substantially so far. So there are 4,700 banks in the United States that hold a combined 20.3 trillion dollars of assets. But as of 2019, only 21 of those banks are black owned or led, and those have a total asset value of just above $5 billion. So they keep talking about black wealth here, and this stat show that black wealth hasn't really changed since the Civil War, which is quite sad. But I think we're going to be the generation to actually change that. It states black-owned, community-focused banks offer much-needed capital and access to financial services for countless people who have been overlooked by major national banks. So he told a little bit about his story. So he states, I spoke with more than 10 banks and was turned down by all but one, despite having a compelling business plan, strong investors behind our partnership, and a strong financial background. The one bank that agreed to provide me with a loan was Citizens Trust Bank, an institution founded in 1921 by five black businessmen to promote greater economic prosperity for individuals. And then he goes on to talk a little bit more in regards to how black banks, and what they need to do in the peace in American society and in African American society that they actually hold. So it's a great read. I will definitely check it out. The link will be in the description, but that was posted on CNBC earlier today. The last article comes from the Washington Post, and hopefully I didn't lose. Oh, there we go. Comes from the Washington Post, and it's titled "CBS is remaking its police shows for the Black Lives Matter era. A novel partnership sends police reform advocates into the writers' room. Can it work?" And I thought this article was interesting because it's a mixture of what happens in popular culture with media, and then how in business, and how all of that is taking place in the environment of Black Lives Matter and racial justice that's going on right now, as well as the COVID era also. So, the main point of the article states the meeting is the part of an ambitious effort by one of the most influential producers of popular entertainment, CBS Studios, to confront the potential influences of its shows, of its shows in incidents like the killings of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd by police. In what is believed to be a television first, the entertainment firm has hired 21 CP to help shape its shows. Normally tasked with remaking police departments, the group has been recruited to change how law enforcement is portrayed on television. So the deal represents a new kind of Hollywood, one willing to bring change into the most sacred spaces, the writer's room. So this is an interesting strategy by CBS, and CBS really is taking the lead in terms of changing and trying to find accurate images as it relates to policing in America in 2020. This actually reminds me of I believe it was Fox. So Fox had the show, what was it called, 24, with Kiefer Sutherland, and it had the first black president on the show. I can't remember the brother's name, but he's the Allstate guy now, but he played the first black president. And then a couple years later, we actually, had Barack Obama as, the true first black president in the United States. So it shows how, media can influence the direction and culture of the United States and of the world, and why this is such an important thing. So this was a stat about CBS. It states the three most watched scripted shows in the 2019-2020 network television season were all made and aired on CBS, and it all revolved around crime fighting. Blue Bloods, FBI, and NCIS. The last one is watched by an average of more than 15 million people each week, making it the most viewed program on television, not named Sunday Night Football. Yeah, so this is, if you're looking to see how entertainment really affects your day to day life and how, or not even day to day, but affects the world and the making of the United States, this is an excellent article. But it closed out with a little bit of a warning. Let me find it here. So it states CBS has to be careful not to alienate its core audience, which is not considered highly activist. The network skews older. At the start of last season, the age of its average viewer was 63, the oldest among the four broadcast networks. In a climate where so much of public life and pop culture has been politicized, inserting too much reform talk into escapist entertainment could be tricky. So those are some of the things that CBS has to deal with and work through as a leader in corporate media. But those are my top five articles of the day. Before you get out of here, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the Financial Juneteenth channel if you like this information we presented today. Also, this is just a test run of the Financial Juneteenth 5 segment. So we have about 5 more weeks to determine if we want to continue doing the FJT. So if you like this segment or have any ideas for improvements, please go ahead and post comments in the chat, and we would really appreciate that. So my name is Lawrence Watkins on behalf of Financial Juneteenth. Take care, be blessed. Hi, everyone. This is Lawrence Watkins, and welcome to the Financial Juneteenth 5. These are my 5 favorite articles as it relates to Black finance, wealth, and business for today, October 16th, 2020. Let's go ahead and get started. Our lead story today comes from TMZ, of all places. So TMZ reports that Chad Boseman died without a will, but he also made sure that his wife was protected. So it states, although Chadwick Boseman knew for years he had terminal cancer, we now know he died without writing a will, but he made a key move months before his death to financially protect his wife. The Black Panther star's widow, Taylor Simone Ledward, has filed probate docs obtained by TMZ in which she asked to be named as the administrator of Chadwick's estate. According to the docs, Taylor gets nearly $1 million in personal property and assets, but that's not a true reflection of Chadwick's wealth and success. Most likely, the majority of his assets are held in separate private trusts. So this is interesting. I think this is a reminder in regards to estate planning and the importance of estate planning. So I'm not exactly sure what Chadwick Boseman's estate plan was. Hopefully he had multiple trusts set up, but it also, really goes to show the importance of things like wills, estate plans, who's going to care for you in case of an emergency and those types of things as well. So much love and many blessings and out to Chadwick Boseman's family and many condolences out to them as well. But make sure that you get your wills and trusts in order. We have many classes in the Black Business School to help you with that as well. The second article today comes from the Grio. So it states Black-owned bank One United reaches milestone with 100,000 customers. So One United, the largest Black-owned bank in the country, revealed it has reached a customer milestone of 100,000 customers across America. A press release cited recent efforts towards social justice activism supported by the bank as a reason for the swift growth in clientele. They came on the scene, even though they've been around for a really long time. They last came on the scene back in 2016. They saw a surge when Killer Mike empowered a national call to bank black in response to police brutality and racism. Now in 2020, of course, the same thing is happening right now with the aftermath of George Floyd. Later on down here, we have a quote from Terry Williams, who is the president and COO of One United. She states, our customer base continues to grow rapidly, and we have expanded access and now have over 100,000 locations to better meet their needs. Importantly, we're on our way to fulfilling Black America's long-held dream of organizing our spending power to create social and economic equality in our society. The article also talks about a partnership that One United created with a company called Green Dot. So, to keep up with its large customer base, One United agreed to a new partnership with Green Dot to deposit cash on the go in over 100,000 locations nationwide, like Walmart and CVS. One United also announced a new service coinciding with customer growth, and I believe it's called Cash to Your Card, a service that gives customer access to an additional 90,000 locations as well. So, congratulations to One United Bank. This is a well deserved success. So, I cannot wait till they get 1 million customers across the country, which I'm sure is one of their upcoming goals as well. The next article was a heartbreaker in many ways, but it's not surprising. So, the article is from National Geographic. It states the fight to save 100 years of black history in gentrifying Los Angeles. When a white media mogul bought a historic black church, it was the ultimate sign of gentrification in Venice, California. Can the community save the building and preserve their neighborhood? So the article, really just details and outlines. It's centered around, I guess, this black church in Venice, California, but it's talking about just gentrification in general. It opened up with a story about Pam Anderson. Just a normal day, asking one of our friends, why she's sitting out in front of the church, and they said, "Don't you know we just, don't you know this church was, just sold?" So the church that they actually grew up with, which is First Baptist Church of Venice, was constructed in 1968 and was really a linchpin of the neighborhood. But this paragraph states over the past 50 years, Oakwood, a historically black and Hispanic neighborhood founded by workers who dug the area's distinctive canals, has gradually become majority white. As Los Angeles grew larger and wealthier in the second half of the 20th century, residents migrated to beachside neighborhoods. By the early 2000s, Oakwood was a hot real estate market. Starbucks moved in, then Whole Foods. Older single family homes were knocked down and replaced with modern apartment buildings, what Anderson calls BU Bubs, big ugly boxes. Real estate got more expensive and more exclusive. Many families decided to sell. So it details, the journey that they went through. This is a quote from Naomi Nightingale, another longtime resident. We became a cheap buy for wealthy people who saw a shiny object between Santa Monica and Marina del Rey, and they could build their mansions on this little piece of land without regard for who was there, what had been built before they came, just because they wanted it. This next paragraph is interesting because it has parallels to what was going on in the city of Louisville. So at the same time, families of color were not, or excuse me, at the same time, families of color were also leaving the neighborhood because of gang injunctions the Los Angeles Police Department had placed on Oakwood. This often took the form of no-knock searches, like the one that led to Breonna Taylor's death in Louisville, Kentucky, and restrictive sanctions on young men of color that prevented many from gathering with friends and family in public. The injunctions started in the 1980s and continued into the 2010s until a federal court ruled them unconstitutional in 2018. So once again, this shows the importance and the, I guess, depth of systemic racism in the United States as it relates to getting your land, getting housing, getting control of neighborhoods on prime property and prime land at whatever cost possible, whether it be the cost of human souls, financially. The financial cost is actually the least of the cost associated with, I guess, this gentrification process as well. But the article was very interesting. I think that you should definitely read it. The church, if you were curious, was sold to a guy by the name of Jay Penske. It sold for $6.3 million. He owns a company called Penske Media, and he's going to turn it into a private residence. But it also talks a little bit about the community trying to fight back to save the church through sit-ins. But you might save that one church, but you're never going to turn back the hands of time as it relates to the actual community as a whole. So read this article on nationalgeographic.com. The link is in the description. The next link is another link or article regarding real estate. This comes from Mortgage Professional America. So it states, oh, there we go. It states new MIT data finds Black Americans pay more to be homeowners. This article was just very interesting. My friend Sean Rochester wrote a book called The Black Tax, and he talks a lot about how just black people are taxed when it comes to the home buying process and the home owning process as well. But the article opens up stating a recent study by MIT Sloan School has found that Black Americans are paying more to be homeowners, leading to a significant loss of retirement income and exacerbating the wealth gap between the country's white and Black populations. Here's a stat. So, citing data from the Urban Institute, the report's authors say that if the extra costs paid by African Americans were eliminated, the $130,000 wealth black white gap in liquid earnings at retirement would be cut in half. These inequities make it impossible for black households to build housing wealth at the same time or at the same rate as white household, the report reads. A fair home ownership system must reform these inequitable federal, state, and local policies. And it talks just throughout the article about the different ways in which blacks are taxed more when it comes to the home buying process and the home owning process. So the first is high mortgage rates at origination. The report's authors found that overpricing for perceived risk factors, including lower credit scores and higher loan to value ratios, is a prime factor in the higher costs paid by black homeowners. It talks a little bit about higher interest rates due to lack of refinance opportunities. Here was an interesting stat. The report's authors provide several possible reasons for the discrepancy, including a higher rejection rate of black applicants. 2019 data shows that lenders rejected at least 6% of credit-worthy Black and Latinx refi applicants. From 2009 to 2015, between 740,000 and 1.3 million credit-worthy Black and Latinx applicants were rejected for refinances. And refinances is a process that actually helps to lower interest rates as well. But then there are things like higher mortgage insurance and property taxes. The study found that the average difference between what African Americans and whites pay in mortgage insurance is about $550 per year, which adds up to $23,000 in lost retirement savings. What else? So citing, oh, here we go. The report's authors found that black homeowners pay 13% more in property taxes than whites whose properties lie in the same jurisdiction. And that's very interesting because usually those homes are valued for less. So you're paying more in property taxes for an asset that's actually worth less as well. And that was surprising to the authors of the report. The report offers certain recommendations in terms of what to do about this problem. So one thing was tax credits for first-time homeowners, which could be used as down payments. It also suggests creating a government-supported insurance program that would continue making a borrower's mortgage payments in the event of unemployment or disability. In the eyes of the study's authors, the change that would prove most beneficial is the end of risk based pricing, which disproportionately impacts Black and Brown borrowers, and a move towards risk pooling that would distribute risk evenly among a lender's borrowers. So check this article out in MPA Mag. So this is Mortgage Professionals of America. The link will be in the description for this as well. The last article today comes from The Root. So it states, "We the People. Converse's Marcus Garvey inspired collab is a powerful provocation, to young Black men and women." So it's talking about, I guess, just a new collab. Oh, for some reason, my notes got lost for this article. So I'll just talk through it a little bit more. So this is just a collab, a new shoe that's coming out that's Marcus Garvey inspired. So here you see the shoes, and let me see. This is one of the paragraphs that I really wanted to highlight. So let's see here. There we go. So Converse went away again. So highlighter's not working for me today. That's okay. It states Converse sneakers have always been a vehicle for others to tell a story. reflect their personal identity. With the ability for a product to deliver meaning more important now than ever, Tremaine Emory, aka Denim Tears, presents a powerful provocation to young black men and women through his latest collaboration. If the Chuck is a classic and iconic expression of American culture, how does it how does its meaning transform when it reflects the black experience and identity? So it goes through talking about his work and how he came up with the idea and how Marcus Garvey actually inspired the shoe. But if you're a shoe head and you're looking for something to add to your collection, definitely check out denimtears.com and converse.com on October 22nd, or excuse me, yeah, October 22nd at denimtears.com. And the shoe will be globally available on October 29th on converse.com as well. So that's about it. So those are our five, or my five most interesting articles for today. If you like this segment, please go ahead and comment and let us know what you think. This is a trial run for another month or so, and if you like it, we'll continue. If not, we'll go ahead and do something, try something different. Before you get out of here, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. On behalf of Financial Juneteenth, my name is Lawrence Watkins. Take care, be blessed, and have a wonderful day. Bye bye. Hi, everyone. This is Lawrence Watkins, and welcome to the Financial Juneteenth 5. These are my five most interesting articles as it relates to Black wealth, finance, and business for today, October 12th, 2020. Let's go ahead and get started. All right. So the first article today comes from Fast Company, and it states Killer Mike's new digital bank aims to build wealth in Black and Latinx communities. So it states named after the historic neighborhood in Tulsa that was once dubbed Black Wall Street, Greenwood's mission is to provide equitable financial services. And this is a partnership between Michael Render, who is also known as Killer Mike, I believe Andrew Young as well. Yes, here we go. Co-founded alongside Andrew Young and civil rights activist, and Ryan Glover, the founder and president of Bounce TV. So it says Greenwood's mission is to give equitable financial services to Black and Latinx communities while also giving back with charitable initiatives. Here's a quote from Render, so Killer Mike. It states, I am a product of Black banking. There's never been a time in my life I did not have a Black bank account. I've been very open and forthcoming in telling people keep your major account, especially if you travel and that makes you comfortable. But make sure you have a secondary, if not your primary account, is at a Black financial institution because it strengthens those institutions. Those institutions will be there for us. Later on in the article, it talks about some of the inequities in terms of Black banking. So, of course, that's been a major topic within, political circles and business circles. So, this article referenced a report by the New America think tank that found that banks charge communities of colors more for opening basic checking accounts, and racial biases from banking or bank tellers lead to discretionary charges. A 2016 study found that Black mortgage applicants were denied at more than twice the rate of white applicants, and all four major banking institutions, JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, and Bank of America, have settled recent lawsuits involving everything from predatory lending to redlining. It's also important to note that Greenwood Bank, so this new bank initiative, is a neobank, which means that it's a digital-only financial institution. At launch, it will offer savings and spending accounts, debit cards, Apple to Android Pay, peer-to-peer money transfer, mobile deposits, and ATM accessibility with no hidden fees. No hidden fees. They're not doing loans yet. The article states so. Currently, Greenwood isn't offering loans, but Reese Giddens, its president and CTO, says it's definitely on the company roadmap. So a shout out to Killer Mike, Ambassador Young, and also Ryan Glover for getting this initiative started. The next article comes from CNN, and it states Facebook launches Buy Black Friday campaign to support Black-owned businesses. So it states Facebook is launching a 3-month season of support initiative for small businesses, starting with a campaign to highlight Black-owned businesses, which are closing twice as fast as others during the pandemic. It's called Buy Black Friday, and its initiative includes the initiative includes toolkits and other resources for Black-owned businesses. Our new Facebook app features encouraging people to share posts supporting these businesses, as well as weekly Friday show featuring owners, entertainers, and musical artists. The campaign is going to run from October 30th to November 27th. The retail industry's Black Friday. So I guess it runs up until November 27th, which is Black Friday this year. Facebook will spotlight a Black-owned entrepreneur on the live Buy Black Friday show each week. And the company is also offering events and resources through its app and a Lift Black Voices hub. I believe later in the article, it mentioned they're going to be partnering and working closely with the U.S. Black Chambers of Commerce. So it states here, we'll be working closely with the U.S. Black Chambers of Commerce, an influential network of Black entrepreneurs to encourage people to buy Black over the holidays. And this is Sheryl Sandberg in this case, who's the chief operating officer of Facebook. And we are confident that millions of people will want to join in. So yeah, that's a new Facebook initiative. I don't see in the article any way that you can apply to actually be one of the business featured, but maybe that is actually in her blog post, but I'm not exactly sure about that. So check out the Buy Black Friday campaign by Facebook. The next article comes from the New York Times today, and it talks about, so it says that their bosses asked them to lead diversity reviews. Guess why? And of course, the reason why is because they were Black. It says when corporations try to belatedly address issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion, they often drop the responsibility on their few Black employees. So this article talked about some of the emotional toll that brings forth. The article opens up with a little story about Deanna Jean, who works in sales, but she kept getting requests on LinkedIn about leading up some diversity inclusion work, but she was definitely not qualified to actually lead that work. And when she told them that, but then asked the person who was reaching out to her if they had anything related to sales, which is what she's trained in, she got crickets and no one actually ever responded. So it said on one side they're looking at me as a Black woman, which means I'm automatically equipped to deliver diversity, equity, and inclusion. But then on the other side, that is the only thing that you see me to be able to do. For many Black professionals, the experience of being asked or even required to lead or participate in a company's diversity and inclusion work simply because of their race is an uncomfortable ritual. So the article talks a little bit more about that and what they're doing to not necessarily combat it, but bring it to the forefront. This quote was interesting as well. It says, for years, diversity, equity, and inclusion issues have often been treated as a sideline or an add-on in corporate America. During the first 2 months of the coronavirus pandemic, DEI-related job offerings declined at twice the rate as overall job postings, according to a report in mid-July from Glassdoor. So it wasn't really until everything started happening in this country in terms of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and others that they even started paying attention to this. So there's a lot of media and a lot of attention surrounding this issue of diversity and equity in corporate America. But as early as this year, it wasn't actually something that these corporations actually cared about. So I thought this was an interesting article. To read this, you might be experiencing the similar type of thing, but I thought this was an interesting article from the New York Times today. The next article comes from the Atlantic. So it says the Black church's exodus, or excuse me, the church's Black exodus. Pastors' silence on racism and COVID-19 is driving Black parishioners away from their congregation. So this quote says, many Black parishioners, especially those at multiracial institutions, bristle when they hear rhetoric from church leaders that ignores how health inequities and racism are affecting the Black community right now. Others are hurt by their church's conspicuous silence on these issues. The result is a quiet but resolute contingent of Black church members leaving their congregation to seek spiritual healing elsewhere. And the article talked about just how some pastors have been guilty, or I guess shaming, those who aren't coming to church in person. It gives the story of Delisha, who's in New Orleans and who was doing a virtual session. And basically, the pastor was deriding them or deriding the people who weren't there in person. But she's like, I have pre-existing health conditions, and I live with a daughter with asthma and a few other different things. How dare you say that, I'm not a woman of God just because I'm not coming to your church on this particular day. So it's not uncommon for people of color who attend multiracial churches to hear very little about racism. That's what David Swanson, the founding pastor of New Community Covenant Church in Chicago, mentioned. He had an interesting tweet a little earlier this year. He says, "A multiracial church which never confronts white supremacy is a white church." By that, he meant it's a church still mostly interested in white people's comfort. So this is an interesting article talking about just religion, the intersection of religion, actually business too, and what's going on in America right now with COVID and racial inequities and everything that's going on. So check this out as well in the Atlantic from a little earlier, if it's today or this month, I can't remember. Oh, yesterday. So it was posted yesterday. The last article today it's a podcast and it comes from Gallup. So they're the the creators of the Strength Finders test. So this is a podcast that talks about building ecosystems that support entrepreneurs of color. And the guest is Dale Gines. John, I'm not sure if it's Gines or Gines, but he's the senior executive of the Federal Reserve of Kansas City, branch in Omaha, Nebraska. But he's talking a lot about creating these ecosystems for Black entrepreneurs, and he talks everything about human capital to financial capital to social capital to cultural capital and many other things. I found it to be very interesting as it's a topic and something that I strive to build, and we strive to build with the Financial Juneteenth platform as well as the Black Business School in regards to creating these ecosystems for Black entrepreneurs and Black business people. So I'm looking forward. I've already dug into the podcast once. I'll go back and listen to it one more time. But I thought this was very informative and insightful. So please check that out. And all of these links will be in the description of this particular YouTube episode. And check them out whenever you have a moment. So that's about it for the Financial Juneteenth 5 today. So let me know what you all thought about these 5 different stories. Let me know if this is a segment that you would like to see us to continue on the Financial Juneteenth network. And please, before you get out of here, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the Financial Juneteenth channel if you would like to receive more financial content like the content that we deliver today. So on behalf of Financial Juneteenth, my name is Lawrence Watkins. Hi, everyone. This is Lawrence Watkins, and welcome to the Financial Juneteenth 5. These are my 5 favorite articles as it relates to Black finance, wealth, and business for today, October 23rd, 2020. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first article today is actually a podcast from Bloomberg Law, and Bloomberg Law has been becoming one of my favorite sites to get news information via their podcast. And today they had a podcast episode entitled "Did Ed Sheeran Copy Marvin Gaye's Classic Song?" And this case has been going on for about 4 years now, and it is finally going to trial in about 3 weeks on November 12th, I believe. So for a little bit of background, Ed Sheeran had a song called Thinking Out Loud about 4 or 5 years ago, in which it seems to have sampled a piece of Marvin Gaye's 1973 soul classic, Let's Get It On. So Marvin Gaye's estate is suing Ed Sheeran for about $100 million for unauthorized use of the song "Let's Get It On." And Ed Sheeran's camp is saying something different. Is saying it's just a part of the normal creative process. And also, this case is maybe, I think, actually headed to the Supreme Court. This case is not headed to the Supreme Court. This is headed to district court. But it could eventually head to the Supreme Court for larger implications as it relates to music copyright. So one interesting thing about this case is, in just music copyright in general that I did not know, is when you copyright a song, oftentimes the only thing that's copywritten is the sheet music. So everything else that goes into making a song soulful, like the instruments, how they're actually played and the background music and those types of things, is all boiled down to sheet music. Now, this is how things were normally done back in the 1970s, 80s, and 90s. But eventually, music companies have started actually putting the recording into the copyright for an additional nominal fee. But unfortunately for Marvin Gaye's camp, the 1973 song doesn't actually have the actual live recording of Marvin Gaye singing as a part of the copyright. And because of that, Ed Sheeran is trying to differentiate his song versus that of Marvin Gaye. One other interesting fact is that because of COVID, when it comes to this particular case, there's a lot like I believe the judge stated that he's not going to postpone this case anymore because he wants justice to actually be served, whether that is Marvin Gaye's estate winning or Ed Sheeran winning. But COVID is throwing a wrinkle into the plans as well, considering that Ed Sheeran is a British resident, and many of the witnesses are British residents. In addition to that, Marvin Gaye's estate is actually based in Los Angeles, California. And because of COVID and the restrictions of travel in the state of New York and in other places, it's been very difficult for people to get back and forth. But in general, it seems like Ed Sheeran is still trying to play the waiting game to make sure that this case gets pushed back as far as possible. It's already been 4 years, while Marvin Gaye's camp is ready to go to trial and go to court. So the piece in general was very interesting from Bloomberg Law. I highly suggest that you read it, or excuse me, you listen to it. It's about 15 minutes long, so it takes about half of the total time of this actual podcast that you see here. The next article comes from a site I came across today called Technically. Let me zoom in a little bit so you all can see it a little bit better. And the headline reads, Coded by Kids raises $1 million to launch One Philadelphia for a long-term inclusive tech pipeline. The program, funded by Bank of America, Comcast, NBC, Universal, and Linfitz Foundation, aims to work in communities of color to address diversity and inclusion in the tech and innovation space, and to deliver sustainable career opportunities. So this nonprofit was founded by a man by the name of Sylvester Mobley. Here's a picture of him down here. So that's Sylvester. But the initiative has raised $1 million from Bank of America, Comcast, and Linfitz Foundation to address diversity and inclusion in tech and innovation spaces in the city with long-term solutions that are, quote unquote, designed to deliver high quality, sustainable career opportunities for communities of color in Philadelphia. Coded by Kids was founded in 2014 by Sylvester, and it offers young people software development, digital design, computer science, and startup-focused education programs. So a part of this strategy, there are three strategies at the heart of the initiative, the organization said. One is creating an integrated tech education. Two, skill development and experiential learning ecosystem that targets high growth and opportunity careers. And then three, building infrastructure needed to support the integrated ecosystem. And I guess this might be number four, or I don't know if it's number four or number three, but this last piece is changing the way underrepresented Philadelphians look at tech and innovation to change the culture of the city. There's a quote in here from Sylvester Mobley. He says, "We're trying to address systemic inequality or inequity. It's not a 12-month program. People have to be willing to dig in for the long haul. It's a long-term initiative, and it will happen over the course of many years. It's something that hasn't been done in Philly so far, and we have to get people to buy into it and have to look to long-term outcomes." All right. And to end the article, actually, there's a couple more quotes before we end. One more quote or piece of the article. states about this being part of a larger initiative by Comcast. So this One Philadelphia program is a part of the $100 million commitment to fight injustice and inequality. And the Lynn Fest Foundation has the funding supports its commitment to finding solutions for life-changing impact in Philadelphia for years to come through strategic investment and fostering collaboration. To end the article, Sylvester has another quote. Sylvester says, people often say the system is broken. And what I try to point out is the system is functioning exactly as it was designed to drive inequity. Part of that design was intentional disinvestment. You can't, you can't fix disinvestment with disinvestment. The only way we'll fix it is funders committing to long-term sustained funding. So if you're a kid or you live in Philadelphia, this may be something to check out. So Coded by Kids, shout out to Sylvester Mobley for starting this organization and growing it. Actually, I'm going to move these articles around. The third article today that I would like to speak about is about Ford Motor Company in the city of Detroit. So the article headline reads, "Our world needs more Black attorneys. New program aims to shake up lack of diversity." So, in an era defined by the death of George Floyd at the hands of police in Minneapolis and the peaceful protests and even some riots nationally that followed, some teenagers see the issue of police brutality and judicial system fairness as personal. So there's this there's this new program in an effort to encourage racial parity and diversify the practice of law. Ford Motor Company and its charitable arm, the Ford Motor Company Fund, have collaborated with the Henry Ford Learning Institute to create the Ford Law Career Academy. So that's a lot of Ford Motor Company and Ford. So this shows the power of wealth and financial legacy. Ford created his company back in the early 1900s, and basically the whole city of Detroit seems to be named Ford. But I digress. Back to the actual article. The four-year program will begin at Taylor's High School in December with a goal of expanding to University Preparatory Academy in Detroit in 2021 and perhaps nationwide. Only 5% of all lawyers in the United States are Black, according to a 2020 report from the American Bar Association. The percentage has remained unchanged over a decade, while the African American population is 13.4%. At issue, the thinking goes, is that children who grow up in working class homes are rarely exposed to lawyers or ideas of working in a courtroom. The founding member, I guess the person who founded this, is a man by the name of Bradley Gayton. Bradley has a quote in here. He states, all too often, I hear that a company is committed to diversity, but there aren't enough diverse, qualified candidates. We simply cannot accept that as a dead end. Inside our respective companies and industries, we must look to the root of the problem and put in the work to fix them. And that's a picture, I believe, of Bradley Gayton, who is started this program. Another person who's a part of this program is Allison Nelson, who works, I believe, at the Ford Foundation. This new high school law program will be an elective, just like music, art, computer science, Spanish, and German classes. Study will include negotiation, mock trial, and shadowing lawyers. It is designed for 30 students a year, starting in the 9th grade. And according to the National Bar Association, the number of Black law students has gone from 25% to 31% since 2011, yet the number of practicing lawyers has remained static. So shout out to this other program. So there are a lot of programs out here to get your kids involved. We're going to be creating something probably sooner or later with the Black Business School as well that has more of a Afrocentric focus to it, I guess. I don't know exactly what to call it, but definitely a Black power focus. But until then, please check out Coded for Kids, this program in Detroit. I hope to see some of these programs expand nationally. The next article comes from Afrotech in afrotech.com. And this article, the headline states, This CEO is behind over $100 million allocated to Black-owned businesses and HBCUs. And the man that they're talking about is Maurice Jones. Maurice Jones, let me zoom in a little bit. There we go. Maurice Jones is the president and CEO of the Local Initiative Support Corporation. And his company helped donate over $100 million to Black-owned businesses and HBCUs through public and private funding. And this was reported by Shop Black. Some of those organizations are Netflix, 60 million from Lowe's, and 40 million from Mackenzie Scott, who is Jeff Bezos' ex-wife. As stated by Jones, LISC is a community development finance organization that provides access to capital, grants, loans, equity investments, tax credit equity, affordable housing, and technical assistance to places like schools, healthcare centers, and organized groups. The LISC is now shifting their focus to what they can do to spread these funds out to those who need them. There's an end quote in here from Jones, Maurice Jones, that says, "We're hopeful that we can provide financing for HBCU projects to help them get across the finish line. We're also going to try to participate in financings where they need a loan or someone needs another source of financing to make a deal pencil. We want to be a part of that as well." So this is another brother that we'll try to get onto the Black Financial Channel, the Financial Juneteenth channel. But it's good for our community to know not just the celebrities and athletes, but all other key figures who are making our economy run and who are making deals to positively affect the Black community. The last article today comes from Cannabis Dispensary. And let me zoom in on this a little bit more. So Cannabis Dispensary, and it states, Seattle's first Black-owned dispensary, Sean Kemp's Cannabis, to open this month. So six-time NBA, this is the press release, six-time NBA All-Star Sean Kemp, the legendary Seattle Supersonics power forward whose athleticism made the team a Western Conference powerhouse in the 1990s, is getting into the cannabis game. Sean Kemp's Cannabis will become Seattle's first Black-owned dispensary with its opening on Friday, October 30th. Kemp, who is entering the fast-growing cannabis industry for the first time, is partnering with industry veterans Matt Sholin, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, and Ramsey Hamidi, two of the co-founders of Main Street Marijuana. Main Street Marijuana, the brand's three shops, have surpassed $150 million in sales and have contributed more than $55 million in excise tax. I'm not sure if that's since 2014 or if that's yearly, but either way, it's still a fast-growing business. Kemp states, "My name is on the company, and I have worked hard to bring Sean Kemp's Cannabis to fruition. I want to provide nothing short of the best selection, customer experience, and prices in Seattle. I have incredible partners in Matt Schnolin and Ramsey Hamidi. I apologize for butchering their names. I have incredible partners to make sure we deliver on that promise to our customers who are our top priority." So this is interesting. I'm curious to know, this article makes me think, how much it's going to be Sean Kemp's brand that made him an attractive figure versus his operational effectiveness and efficiency and his skill set on that particular front. So we see this a lot with celebrities and entertainers who use their name, who allow others to borrow the celebrity's name to grow a brand. And I think this is becoming even more common from an ownership perspective. One of the companies, or I guess two of the companies that really stand out to me that do this well are both in the beauty space. One is Rihanna in her Fenty brand, where she partnered on the back end with a company that was very experienced in running beauty brands. And another is, I guess, Kim Kardashian and her sister Kylie Jenner as well, with their companies, where one party brings the celebrity, brings the audience, brings the influence, while the other party is working operationally to make things happen. So my goal, and one of the things that I would like to see, is for Black people to be able to bring both of those pieces together and actually vertically integrate over time. But until that moment in time is here, congratulations to Sean Kemp for actually opening up his first dispensary, and hopefully there are many more to come in the future. So that's it. Those are my 5 favorite articles as relates to Black finance, wealth, and business for today, October 23rd. Before you get out of here, please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the Financial Juneteenth channel. In addition to that, please let me know how you are liking this Financial Juneteenth 5 segment. Is this something that you would like for us to continue in the long term? And if so, please leave a comment and let me know. So until next time, you all be safe, be well, and be blessed. Bye-bye. Today's video is brought to you by the Black Business School. At the Black Business School, we don't help you just climb the corporate ladder, we help you build your own as well. We provide a culturally relevant yet practical education in all things wealth building at an affordable price. So no matter if you want additional freedom in your day-to-day life, you would like to leave a legacy of generational wealth behind to your family and friends, or you just want additional security and stability going into your golden years of retirement, the Black Business School has courses and offerings for you. So head over to theblackbusinessschool.com to learn more. Take care and see you in class soon. Bye-bye.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to co-sign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and welcome to the Black Financial Channel, or wherever you're watching from. I want to say hello and good morning. I'm on the Instagram page for the Black Financial Channel, so make sure you follow the Black Financial Channel on Instagram. And once again, I always like to start my conversations by letting you guys know if it seems like I'm talking a little bit weird, a little bit funny, it's because I got some dental work done, and they're literally reshaping the bone in my mouth. So it makes me talk a little bit weird and sound a little bit weird, like a teenager with a retainer in his mouth. But just know I'm a Black man who's trying to be healthy, and I want to encourage everybody to think about your dental health, because your dental health affects everything from blood pressure to your heart and everything else. And it's something that you got to look into and take care of. Don't be silly like me. Anyway, good morning, everybody. I see you guys out there on Instagram. I want to tell you guys a quick little story. It was on my mind this morning, so I thought that I would share this with you guys because we're all, all of us here are wealth builders. The reason that you watch me is because you want to be a little bit smarter than the average bear. You want to excel. You want to succeed. You believe in Black excellence. You believe in Black family. You believe that Black people come first. Hashtag B1 in the chat. Put a hashtag B1 in the chat if you agree. So you guys, I think, are going to get this when I share the story. A lot of people miss this. This went over a lot of people's heads. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share this with you, and then I'm going to kind of put it into a quicker context to help you understand how serious it was. I was watching Saturday Night Live one week. It was maybe a couple years ago. And they have this segment they do called Black Jeopardy. And now, just, to be clear, I can watch SNL and laugh at the best of them. Even the stuff that's a little bit offensive, usually I can just kind of laugh it off. It's real interesting. Even when I look back on the Eddie Murphy stuff that I watched when I was a little kid that I thought was hilarious, I didn't realize until I got older that a lot of his career was built on, perpetuating stereotypes of Black people. Mr. Rogers, he's the Black man who's gonna rob you. You had some other was Buckwheat or Tay. I don't remember Tay, right? Just the minstrel show kind of thing. But it's no disrespect to Eddie, but it is what it is, right? You got to understand media and how media shapes our minds. Media, it's called television programming for a reason, right? Programming, because you really are being programmed. But anyway, on this particular episode, it was called Black Jeopardy. And on this Black Jeopardy episode, what they would do, if you watch the show Jeopardy, what they do is they make a statement and then you respond with a question. So if they say, this is the capital of Minnesota, and somebody will say, what is Minneapolis? I don't even know what the capital of Minnesota is. That's how bad I was in school. But that's what you do. You enter the statement with a question that fills in the blank, right? So here's one thing that they did on this Black Jeopardy thing. Leslie Jones was on this, and so they said, your boss wants to take $50 a week out of your bank account or out of your paycheck to put into your 401k. And then Leslie answers, she goes, she goes, what is, you better give me my $50 so I can buy me some scratch offs, right? And everybody laughed. Everybody thought it was hilarious. So basically what she was saying is, don't put money in my 401k. Give me that money so I can go buy me some scratch offs, because that's what I'm going to do with my money, because I'm Black. Right? This was Black Jeopardy. This is what Black people do in their minds, right? When they're doing this show, they're answering it the way Black people would. They'd ask questions about Kool-Aid or putting a perm in your hair or whatever, right? So this Black Jeopardy joke that was so hilarious about how, you better not take money out of my out of my check to put in my 401k. You better not invest for me. You better give me this money so I can go waste it on some scratch offs, right? Neck swing and everything, right? That's a very serious joke. I'm not a guy, I like to laugh at the best of them. If you go to drboystv.com, you'll see every week or a couple times a week, I'll do, skits that are just, where I'm just kind of letting out the funny side of myself. I can laugh at a lot of stuff, but this, and you can even laugh at the joke if you want to, right? But beneath the joke, there's an element of seriousness that is extremely, extremely relevant to the condition of Black people in America today, tomorrow, and yesterday. If anybody has seen this, I don't know if you guys have seen this study. Give me a yes or no in the chat if you've seen this. There's that study that says that Black wealth is expected to drop to zero by the year 2053. Has anybody seen that study? Let's make sure we're on the same page. Who's seen the study? Give me a yes or no. So the study says Black wealth is expected to drop to zero by the year 2053. The racial wealth gap is not closing like it's supposed to, right? If integration and all the stuff was really working, the wealth gap will be closing, and we'd be closing right in on white people about now, right? We've been at it for about 50 years. You would expect that gap to shrink. And actually, the gap is not shrinking. The gap is actually widening. The gap is actually widening where white wealth is going up, Black wealth is going down. The wealth of the rich is going way up. The wealth of middle class and poor people is kind of going down or staying flat. As a financial scientist, as a guy with a PhD in this stuff, I understand this extremely well. I've studied this because all I think about is, stuff that matters for Black people. It don't matter to Black people. It don't really matter much to me. And I studied this gap, and it's very easy to understand if you understand the economic mechanics and financial dynamics. And basically the financial dynamic is that the reason that rich people's wealth is taken off and leaving everyone else behind is because wealthy people, even before they're wealthy, even when they were used to be broke, they were more likely to be stock market investors, right? So they were more likely to put money in their 401k. They were more likely to put money into the IRA. They were more likely to add to their stock portfolio, right? So if you give me two people, both of whom came from the hood, both of whom work, let's say they get jobs at Ford, and one person is an avid investor, like one person's hobby is buying stocks, right? And the other person's hobby is, going to the club or buying Gucci or buying Jordans. And they got a big old Jordan collection because they got, anybody know anybody like that? Brother that's 40 years old, got a big old sneaker collection. No disrespect to those who buy sneakers. I know that there's a market for sneakers and all that, but really, like we all choose what we're going to do with our money. Well, if you give me those two guys and one guy is an avid investor, dumping a bunch of money in the market to own assets, and the other guy is spending money, looking fly, or whatever, because I wasn't the fly guy. I had friends that were fly. They would make fun of my clothes. They would make fun of my car, all this other stuff, right? Then the guy who's the investor, if you go out 10, 20 years later, the guy who's the investor is going to have a whole lot more wealth than the person who did not invest. The guy who didn't invest is going to get left behind. The guy who invested is going to see his wealth kind of grow. His wealth is going to grow with the wealth of America. His financial success is going to be tethered, almost like a wire connected to the fate of rich people. His fate is going to go in the direction of the fate of rich people. The other guy's fate is going to go in the direction of the fate of the working class. Working class and poor people don't really win in America. Working for money is a really hard way to get rich. It's very difficult. It's almost almost impossible to paycheck your way to wealth. It's almost impossible to do. Most wealthy people have invested in something. Typically, it's stocks and then some real estate. Sometimes it's just real estate. Sometimes it's just stocks. But really, when Alicia and I invest, we invest in stocks, real estate, and small business. Those are kind of the three main ways that people get rich in America. So I want you to kind of think about this story, right, in this thing on Saturday Night Live. And I want you to understand that this joke really bothered me as a financial scholar, the same way a joke about eating Popeye's chicken might bother a heart surgeon. A heart surgeon will be like, oh my God, do you know what this chicken does to your arteries? Do you know the instances of diabetes and heart disease and strokes and heart attacks, how high that goes up if you're eating Popeye's chicken every day, right? So as a financial surgeon, I'm looking at this and saying, do you understand what this is doing to Black wealth? Do you understand that wealth building is largely a cultural phenomenon? Wealth building is cultural. It's not just academic. It's not just what you learned in school. It is cultural. It is cultural. Just like hip hop is a culture. If you grow up in a family full of rappers, you're going to be a good rapper too. If you grow up in a family full of gospel singers, anybody see those families where everybody in the family is a gospel singer? That's because gospel singing is part of their culture. Going to church can be part of your culture. Being a Crip or a Blood can be part of your culture. So what you got to ask yourself is, what is my culture? What is my culture? And is my culture one that's going to lead to prosperity? What is Black culture? What does Black culture look like? Nobody can really define what it means to be Black, because there's a lot of things that, Joe Biden says being Black means being a Democrat. Donald Trump says being Black means you're going to be a Republican. A wealthy guy says being Black means building wealth. Another person might say being Black means knowing how to twerk, right? What does being Black mean to you? You have to figure that out and then align your culture in your household with that which is going to give the prosperity and the positivity that you're seeking for your children, right? It's culture, because culture shapes values. Culture shapes your decision making. Like if I get $1, what am I going to do with that dollar? Well, what I do with that dollar is going to be heavily influenced by my culture. If I come from a culture that's make it rain and spend it, it burns a hole in your pocket, then I'm going to go and buy me some, nice stuff. I'm going to get me some fly clothes, some shoes, some Gucci, whatever, right? I'm gonna give me a couple chains so I can look real fly or whatever. Or maybe if I'm in Detroit, the car culture is really strong. I dated a girl from Detroit one time. She dumped me on the first date. Because I was such a freaking lame. And I'm driving this raggedy ass 1987 Pontiac. I forgot what that car was. And we went on a date. I got my little raggedy hoopty. I'm kind of proud of it though, because I had just got my hoopty fixed. And we're driving, and I thought we had a nice little date, nice little conversation. And she says, didn't you get that presidential scholarship? And I'm like, yeah, it was pretty good. They gave me a lot of money for that. I was really happy about that. And she said, if you got all that money, why don't you get a nicer car? And oh my God, that hurt my feelings so bad. It made me feel so lame, right? But the thing is that is because, culture, right? My culture was one that says, it doesn't matter what kind of car you drive, as long as you think about where you're going. Where you're going matters more than how fly you're looking when you're trying to get there, right? If you're driving on the path to nowhere and you're driving in a Bentley, then you're driving your Bentley straight to hell. Whereas if you're driving a hoopty and you're going somewhere good, then that's what matters more, right? That was my culture. I didn't grow up in a culture like if I came home looking super fly with designer this and Gucci that, my family would laugh at me. Literally, my father would be like, what is that shit? My mother would be like, you paid how much for that? And but then that was the culture of our household. Her culture was, in Detroit, everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people love their cars. Detroit's a car city, right? So she was like, she grew up in a culture where the guys you picked were the guys who had the nice vehicle, right? This is not to define all people from Detroit at all. I know a lot of great people from Detroit, but this is really what, what's really happening in that dynamic. So figure out what your culture is and go back to that Leslie Jones joke I told you about on SNL. And I'll need you to understand the connection between that seemingly harmless joke and what is happening all around you. Black people are losing wealth and not building wealth because Black people don't, on average, many of us, millions of us don't even invest. Or when we do invest, we invest like Tinkerbells. We'll throw in $10. We'll be like, I bought $10 worth of stock. And I'm not here to tell people like what to do, but I'm kind of like, you bought $10 worth of stock. Well, if you were going on a vacation or if you were going out to the club or going to the mall, would you spend $10 at the club? Like, or if you were out at dinner, like, would you spend $10 at dinner? Or maybe you can at least go as hard when it comes to investing in your future as you would if you were shopping at the mall on Black Friday. Right? How hard do people go? Has it ever seemed like with Black Friday and all that, when the chaos happens, when they got people lined up outside the door and down the street, like overnight, trying to get in so they can buy the, the $200 TV or whatever, right? Well, like, I think that a good culture might be one where you say, we're going to go, if you want to go hard on Black Friday, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, when you get money, when you finally get some money or you get more, you'll be able to buy whatever you want. Like, that's really fun. I'm not going to say that it's bad to go buy stuff that you want and enjoy your money. But you got to get some money in order to enjoy it. A lot of people start enjoying their money before they have any money. And when they get a little bit of money, they don't build the money. They take the money and they enjoy the money before they actually have had a chance to grow the money. You see, your money's supposed to grow, and then you enjoy the fruits of your labor. You plant the seed so you can enjoy the harvest, right? Some people want to enjoy the harvest and they ain't even planted no seeds. And then they wonder why they don't have a harvest. You ever see that where there are people who literally just don't understand why they're broke. They don't understand why they have nothing. But you look at their life, and all you gotta do is just go back in time and say, okay, what seeds have you planted? You have no harvest, but did you plant any seeds? Did somebody plant seeds for you? Or did your parents plant seeds for you? A lot of parents don't plant seeds for their children, then their children have no harvest. So the question becomes, how can you expect a harvest when you planted no seeds? How can you expect a harvest when there's nothing about seed planting that's in your culture? So one of the things, if you want to know how I think all the time about money and wealth and all that, my job is to plant seeds. I plant as many seeds as I can. And the reason I plant seeds is because you don't know what those seeds are going to grow into. You don't know, what the possibilities are. Most people that create these billion-dollar companies, if you go back and you read the history, they started these companies were nothing when they started them. Like, they were tiny little, crappy little businesses, and they never would have guessed that those businesses were going to grow into anything great. Only God knows what your destiny is. Only God knows what that seed is going to grow into. And so my belief is, I plant the seeds and I let God do the growing, right? My job is to just plant the seed. My job is not to decide if a seed deserves to live or die based on whether I think it's going to grow. I don't have the power of God. I don't have the ability to say, oh, that seed is going to grow into a sycamore tree, but that seed ain't going to grow into nothing, so we might as well not even plant that seed. No, my job is to plant the seed and let God do all the growing. So if you want to know if I'm a man of faith, I'm a man of faith in the sense that I believe the universe is smarter than me. I believe my destiny is smarter than me. I believe that God, Yahweh, the universe, has something in store for me that's bigger than anything I can even imagine. So my job is to put my nose to the table, do my best, plant as many seeds as possible, and then let the universe do what it's going to do. Okay, so plant your seeds and let God do the growing. Don't worry about whether or not you think it's going to work out or whatever. But do what you know you're supposed to do. Investors plant seeds. Plant seeds. Don't do what they were talking about on SNL. Those stereotypes are what is destroying Black wealth. That's why Black wealth is going backward, and that's why the wealth gap is getting wider, and why Black people are declining economically. That's exactly why. It's all linked. A lot of it is very much linked to culture. Now, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button, please hit the thumbs up button. Also, just a reminder to you guys, on Monday night at 8 o'clock on the Black Financial Channel, we have a new show called Life's a Pitch, and I host it with Lene Javette. And basically what we do is we invite Black business owners to present a 90-second pitch of their business. And we did it last week. It was really, really great. A lot of people loved it. And people submit their pitches in advance. And so get on our email list so that I can let you know, A, when we're going to do another show, and then B, when we're doing a shout out for businesses that we want to bring on the show. It's worked really, really well. And what the goal is to let these businesses pitch and show everybody what they got going on. And then also we ask the audience to get involved by telling us which business is the best. So they vote on the winner. But then number two, we tell them to do a wealth mob. We ask people to do a wealth mob on Black businesses. A wealth mob is not just a cash mob. Cash can be part of it if you want. Like, you can go buy something if you think the business is good. But let's just be real. Some Black businesses ain't ready. Some Black businesses ain't that good. So sometimes you may want to give them wealth through knowledge and feedback. So you might go in the chat, give them feedback and say, hey, you need to work on this or work on that, or this doesn't appeal to me or whatever. Or you can go to their website and tell them how they can do better, right? So everything's completely positive. It's really, really awesome. I think you're going to like it. So make sure you get on our email list list. And I'll email you guys when we're going to do it. We're going to do it Monday night at 8 o'clock on the Black Financial Channel. It's theblackfinancialchannel.com. Some of you guys are watching on the Black Financial Channel Instagram page. Make sure you subscribe to the Black Financial Channel YouTube channel so you get a notification when we go live. It's going to be 8 o'clock on Mondays. Every Monday, we're going to feature Black businesses and showcase them and let you guys vote on who's the best. How do you get on the email list? You can get on the email list and get a free e-copy of my book. Go to allblackeconomics.com. That's allblackeconomics.com. And also, somebody asked what is going to be taught in the Powernomics Masterclass. Dr. Claude Anderson and I are going to do 8 weeks where we're going to go through in detail the Powernomics book. And you'll know everything there is to know about Powernomics. You get a certification once you're done and watched all the videos. And also, I'm going to do office hours once a week where we're going to talk about Powernomics principles. So if you'd like to join the Powernomics Masterclass, we start on the 15th. That's when enrollment is going to close. So if you'd like to join us, go to powernomicsmasterclass.com. That's powernomicsmasterclass.com. If you're watching the podcast, you can get 30% off by using the code word podcast. So powernomicsmasterclass.com, code word podcast. So anyway, guys, have a good day. I'll see you soon. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you later. Be good. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, the Black Business School. And I wanted to keep you briefed on some financial news since that's kind of what I do. That's what I like to talk about. Some of you may be interested that there's actually a college in Colorado that's offering a degree in cannabis. I pulled this up on CNN, and it basically says students at Colorado State University's Pueblo campus are now going to be or have the option of studying cannabis starting this fall. State officials on Friday approved a Bachelor of Science degree in cannabis biology and chemistry, according to the Colorado Department of Higher Education, which said it was one of the first such programs in the country. Quote, this new major is a proactive response to a rapidly changing national scene regarding the cannabis plant. A proposal for the program by CSU Pueblo officials says, citing shifting attitudes toward cannabis and its legalization for recreational use in numerous states, including Colorado. The program will be part of CSU Pueblo's Department of Chemistry and consists mainly of chemistry and biology coursework with some classes in math and physics. Students could choose one of 2 tracks, either a natural products track focused in biology or an analytical track that focuses on chemistry. Graduates could begin careers either in the cannabis and hemp industries or in the government, but they could also be competitive in a, quote, wide variety of businesses outside the cannabis industry. So I find that interesting. I think it's a great idea. I think the cannabis market is really shifting. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Excuse me. I have a lot of friends that are making a lot of money in cannabis. And I think it's about time. The public was really miseducated about cannabis from the beginning. It was they pretty much set things up where you'd be afraid of it. And now that the truth is kind of coming out, you're seeing this rush, what some would call the green rush toward all the opportunities that exist in cannabis. At the same time, do I smoke weed? No, I don't smoke because I don't want to, sit around smoking and putting, stuff in my lungs that might hurt me in the long term, or things that might alter my brain. I don't want anything that's going to slow me down and make me lazy. But I would definitely say that there have been some really strong medical effects shown from CBD oil. And we actually use CBD all the time, to rub it on our muscles and stuff like that. So anyway, there is a market there. So I think the biology, chemistry aspect's important. But also, if you study cannabis, you want to study the business of cannabis as well, because the business models are where the money's made. Also, I would imagine that eventually when there's a Democrat in office and a lot of federal regulation, a Democrat in the executive branch, excuse me, and maybe even the Senate, pushes through the legislation to legalize cannabis nationwide. I think there's going to be a lot of money to be made. Personally, I've made some money in cannabis, supporting some cannabis businesses, but then also investing in certain cannabis stocks. So that's how I've gotten into it. I'm not really into it on a deep level though, because I don't want to be out trying to farm and all this other stuff. But anyway, so I just want to let you guys know about that. I expect that there will be other programs like this all around the country, and I like it because it's proactive. And the reality is that, self-education is really the way to go. So in fact, if you're interested in getting into the cannabis business, I would go find somebody that's in the business that can teach you what you need to know. That's, to me, better than college if you're trying to really learn something and do it for less than, say, $10,000, right? So that's my 2 cents on it. I'm going to get out of here, guys. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Also, some of you have asked me how to invest in the stock market. We've got a great program. You can do a 30-day free trial at theblackstockmarketprogram.com, THE. That's theblackstockmarketprogram.com. I'm out of here, guys. Take care and have a great day. Be good. Peace.